Ever wonder how some products just seem to click with millions of people? Like, how do companies hit that sweet spot? Well, today, we're going to dive into the world of AI and product design.
Yeah, so we're talking algorithms, data crunching, all that good stuff, but really it's about predicting what's going to be the next big thing.
Exactly. And it's not some distant future, right? This is happening right now.
Oh, absolutely. This research is happening right. It could completely change the way these industries operate.
Yeah, and imagine the pressure on these companies, like car companies, for example.
Oh, yeah.
They invest billions in design.
Mm.
One misstep, and you got a Pontiac Aztec on your hands.
You know, the Aztec is such a fascinating example, actually. It actually shared its platform, like the mechanics, the guts of the car, really, with cars that became super successful, the Buick Rendezvous, the Enclave.
Wait, hold on. Are you telling me those were basically the same car underneath?
Mostly. Yeah, the big difference really came down to the aesthetics, how they looked. And get this, the Enclave, with the design that people found more appealing, had a 30% higher price tag.
Really?
Yeah, we're talking billions in revenue, potentially, all because they nailed the look.
Wow.
Yeah, just for a design that people connected with, that's a 30% markup, folks. Just for a design that clicked. Makes you wonder about the price of everything you buy.
Right. Like, how much is design influencing that?
Right.
Okay, so that brings up a huge question. Can AI actually bridge this gap? Can it figure out what consumers are actually going to buy, not just what they say they want?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the answer is, well, it's complicated. AI is definitely a game changer, but it's not about replacing human designers. At least not yet.
Okay, good. Because I was starting to picture an army of, like,
Yeah.
design robots.
Not quite, not quite. The real power comes from using AI to actually enhance the skills designers already have.
Right.
Professor Alex Burnap at Yale is doing some really groundbreaking work in this area.
Okay.
He's integrating machine learning into the design process itself.
So how does that work in practice?
So think of it in two stages. First, there's generative AI. So imagine like a brainstorming partner. But this partner has analyzed every design like ever made.
Right.
And it can generate totally new ideas, aesthetics, things we've never even considered.
Like a digital muse for designers?
Exactly. And then comes predictive AI.
Okay.
And this is where Professor Burnap's research gets really, really fascinating. He's discovered a way to use AI to predict how appealing a design will be to people.
Wait, really? That's like having a crystal ball for, like, product development.
It's about as close as we can get.
Wow.
Imagine being able to test hundreds of designs,
Right.
but with pinpoint accuracy. Not just figuring out what works, but why it resonates with consumers. That's the kind of power Burnap's team is unlocking.
So no more design flops. We're all going to be driving these, like, beautiful AI-designed cars from now on.
Well, it's not quite that simple, but you've hit on a key point. This technology, it really has the potential to like drastically cut down on those expensive missteps. And it's not just about, avoiding failure. It's about making those design choices, but with a deeper understanding of what connects with people,
Right.
what resonates,
Yeah. This all sounds incredible, but I have to admit, like, a part of me wonders if this takes some of the, like, the human element out of design.
Sure, yeah. And that's a concern a lot of people have. It's a really important one to address. When we think about, things we love, a lot of times there's an emotional connection, right? A sense of something like uniquely human speaking to us. But I think rather than replacing that human touch, AI can actually enhance it. Think of it like this. When CAD software first came out, some designers, they worried it would make their work feel sterile, less creative,
Right. Like you're just inputting data instead of, like, sketching out ideas, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But look at CAD now. It's become an essential tool for designers. It lets them work more efficiently, explore way more possibilities, and ultimately, I think, bring their visions to life in ways they just couldn't before.
Yeah.
I think AI in design could follow a really similar path.
Okay. So we're not talking about AI replacing these human designers, but giving them, like, superpowers.
Yeah, I like that analogy because these tools, they're only as good as the people using them. The real magic, it comes from combining that, data crunching power of AI with the intuition and creativity of a skilled designer.
So you still need that human spark, that ability to understand not just what looks good, on paper, but what's going to connect with people on an emotional level.
Absolutely. And that's just not something AI can replicate, at least not yet.
Yeah.
AI can analyze millions of data points.
Yeah.
It can identify these patterns that we might miss, but it can't feel the emotion behind a design, the story it tells,
Right.
the way it connects to our hopes, our desires.
Okay, so AI becomes another tool then in the designer's toolkit, not a replacement for their own, creativity and vision.
Precisely. And in a world, honestly, that's just saturated with information and choices, that human touch, it becomes even more important. AI can help us cut through the noise, but ultimately it's that human connection that makes a product really stand out.
It's like AI can help us find the right answer, but it's still up to humans to ask, the right questions.
Now you're getting it. It's about using these tools strategically, understanding their strengths, but also their limitations, and always remembering that design, at its heart, it's about people. It's about understanding what we need, what we crave, what makes us tick.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and if AI can help us understand those things better,
Yeah.
maybe it can help us design products that are not just more appealing, but more impactful, more meaningful.
Exactly. And that brings up another fascinating aspect of this. What does it mean for individual taste if AI is shaping all these products that we're drawn to?
Right. It's almost like AI is holding up a mirror to our desires, making its question, what influences our choices, our preferences?
That's a great way to put it. It raises some really interesting questions about, the future of consumerism, creativity, even identity. Like if AI can predict what we want, does that then change what we want?
That's a pretty deep thought. It's
Yeah.
are we all going to end up wanting the same things? If we're all being shown these perfect products, based on all this data, does that limit us? Do we end up in this echo chamber of taste?
That's the big question, right? It's one we really need to be thinking about as this technology keeps evolving, because it goes way beyond everybody buying the same toaster. It's about what makes us unique.
Right. Yeah. It makes you wonder, is AI going to help us express our individuality? Or is it going to subtly nudge us all towards conformity?
It's a tough one. It's definitely a balancing act. And I think the answer isn't to be afraid of AI. It's about understanding the potential impact it could have. Think about you can use any tool in a lot of different ways, right? AI could help us break free from these old design constraints, explore all these new possibilities we wouldn't even think of on our own. Or, yeah, it could be used to kind of manipulate what we want. I think the important thing is making sure we're the ones in control, We're steering the ship.
Right. So it comes back to us, how we choose to use it.
Exactly. And that's why these conversations, they're so important to have. We have to be asking those tough questions, thinking critically about the potential and, the downsides, the pitfalls of AI and how it's used in design. It's not about just trying to, predict what's going to happen. It's about making choices that shape the future.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So for someone listening out there who's, maybe a little overwhelmed by all this, maybe even a little afraid, what's the takeaway here?
Don't be afraid to be curious, right? AI, it can seem complicated, even intimidating, but really at the end of the day, it's just a tool.
Yeah.
And like any tool, you got to learn to use it the right way. So yeah, approach it with a critical eye, ask questions, and really be aware of the biases that can creep in, not just in the data, but even in ourselves.
Right. Like any new tool.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to use it effectively.
Yeah.
But responsibly, too.
Exactly. And it's important to remember design has always been about more than just aesthetics. It's always been about solving problems, right? Understanding what people need, creating things that make our lives better. AI can be this really powerful ally in that. It can help us make products that aren't just beautiful, but also things that are sustainable, accessible to everyone, products that have real meaning.
So it's not about AI versus humans, right? It's about figuring out how they can work together to create something better.
Exactly. The future of design, it's collaborative, a fusion of, human ingenuity, human creativity, and artificial intelligence. And that's exciting.
Yeah, I like that. It sounds like we're entering this really fascinating new era of design, one that's full of, challenges, but also some really incredible possibilities.
We are. And I'm excited to see what we all create together.
Well said. And there you have it, everybody. A deep dive into the world of AI and how it's changing product design, how it might just shape, the future of what we create, what we buy, maybe even what we want.
It's a future that's waiting to be designed. And the most important thing is that we design it thoughtfully, ethically, and always, always with a focus on what really matters. Human connection, creativity, a better world for everyone.